Hello again, it's Elizabeth, and let me adjust that just a little. I'm over here in my art loft, and I'm going to show you how to make an embossed key, or in this case, a butterfly, and how to make the paperclip that I made on the inside of this journal. This journal, I had an embossed key, that is a piece of paper that has been embossed to make it dimensional. You can see that's got a little bit of thickness there. It looks kind of coppery, it looks kind of shiny. And then I also made this paper clip right here that we have this key attached to this. And if I can get that to go the right way, go down there. Okay. Gonna be stubborn, are you? Okay, I can get you out. Yes, yes, yes. Come on. There we go. Okay, so this paper clip we're gonna make today. Not this key. This key's purchased. So, I mean, you could use just any kind of dangle on your thread that's out here instead of having the embossed thing. But say that you want a specific type of thing that you can't find. And maybe you want this specific key, which fits that little padlock in there, instead of a store-bought thing. But, you know, you can use the store-bought ones. And the store-bought ones, I mean, they're cute. You can just dangle something like that from your thread, or your little, this little set of words that I had that you could dangle from your thread. But I wanted to make something specific. In this case, I brought my piece of white paper over so I can do my embossing powder on it. These are butterflies that I have used on my gel plate, so they have paint already on them, and that's a pretty color, so we'll use that as one of our colors. And we'll emboss that butterfly, and then we'll glue another embossed butterfly to him on the back, and then he will be three-dimensional basically. And look, oh, that's red. That'll be kind of nice, won't it? We'll just do that. Won't match the journal we're going to put it on, is this one that we just made with our 4-envelope journal, if you were watching that series. This won't be a part of the series, but it's kind of like the add-ons that you can put onto it. So let's get started. First thing we want to do is to get our embossing ink, and this is some I've had forever. I don't know if they even make it, but you can use Versamark ink. You can use any of your inks that will stay kind of wet for a while, because the object of the game is that you're going to use to have those wet enough that your embossing powder will stick to it. And you want to have your butterfly kind of flat when you have that, because you want to make sure that it gets all over it. And I just use my fingers to push that down against it, and then I lay it out here. And in this case, I have what's called ultra thick embossing powder, which I purchased again ages and ages ago when I was doing more embossing and things. And we can just cover that in the embossing powder, and once you've got it on there, you don't have to do anything special to it because it's already on there. So you don't have to you don't have to emboss it right away. You just have to get it out, the rest of this embossing powder. And it looks like we've missed a few places, so I'm going to see if I can get that to have just a little bit more right there on that edge and on that tail, and see if we can pick those up. And I did get a little bit, but then we'll have to go over somewhere else, not close to here, and emboss that. But I'm going to go ahead and do my other butterfly at the same time, since we're using we could use the gold side. Do I like the gold side or that side? I think I like that. Well, let's use the gold side. It'll work. And we'll make sure we get all of that wing like we didn't before. My fingers are getting full of this stuff. I hate embossing powder, to tell you the truth, because it gets everywhere. Just cover him all up. Make sure he's all covered up. And quit poking him with your finger, because if you slide your finger over it, you could dislodge some of that embossing powder, and then it won't work as well. And to do it, to emboss, I'm going to get a little, if I can find it one quickly. Oh my gosh, I hate this stuff. I was going to say a little box to put it in, but of course there's no box around here. Wait a minute, I have one right over here. And again, I should close up my ink because you don't want those things to dry out. And like I said, I've had that one forever, so it hasn't dried out yet. But I'm going to emboss it in this box so that it won't fly around and fly off onto somewhere else. We will do both of them. I have to get my heat gun warm. And it is noisy, so you might have to turn down your volume. And it's best if you just kind of hold them as you do it. I think you can see that. And we've had embossing powder on the back of it, so it tried to stick to the box. Come back here. Am I in frame? Yeah. Now, if it's still wet, in other words, if it's still, if the embossing powder hasn't set totally, all right, I gotta make sure my heat gun doesn't fall off. Annoying. Move those things out of the way. Move that over there. I have this block for the other thing. Okay, but if the embossing powder is still wet, it can pick up more embossing powder, and you can just do it again. But it's not, so we're going to have to apply more embossing ink. Okay, so we just slap that guy down there, rub him around, make sure it gets all the way to the edge of his stuff, because a double dose of embossing powder will make it a lot thicker. Oh, come on. Trying to do it without getting my fingers in it, and of course it's not cooperating in the least. I do need a little bit of embossing ink right there. I am making a total mess. I want you to know this is a total mess. I don't usually do this. I usually don't do it at this table, actually. So that's part of the problem. Now you just face down. There we go. And we do still have some on the back. We want to take that off because we don't want any more embossed things in our box. Except I need to get it off my fingers. It's driving me crazy. Okay, this one's looking pretty good. You can see how thick that looks already. But we are going to go with another batch of it. Yeah. I don't want it in the holes. I wanted to have it look lacy when I put it on my little chain there. I mean, my little thread. So if you have some where you don't want it, you can just take it off with a needle tool, or in this case, the little metal spatula. And there we can go again. Another noisy stuff coming up. You want to turn down your volume. Driving me crazy. Okay, short trip, yeah. Okay, here we go. See it on the red easier than you can on the gold. Okay, we'll give that a second to cool. Now we'll make sure that it comes loose from my box. It's kind of stuck. Embossing powder is like wax. See, that's all stuck there. And this one's kind of stuck a little bit too. There we go. And then when that's cool, I'm trying to make sure he's straight. We're going to glue this one to this one. I don't know if that will work actually. Maybe I just make the butterfly. Yeah, there we go. We'll glue that to that. And then we'll have a thick charm to put on our thread. That's for that new journal. Make his head look right. Okay, so I'm going to use the art glitter glue because I think that will be the easiest to work with and actually best to work. Although actually what I should just do is glue that together while it's still hot. But I can't do that because my fingers would melt. So we'll do it with art glitter glue and hope that it works. And if it doesn't work, well, then we'll do something else. How's that? And I will have to go wash my hands before I do my next thing because I can't stand the stuff on there. And I know I shouldn't wash it down the sink, but I'll wipe them with a paper towel first. Okay, so close up my glue. Put my other butterfly against this one and hope for the best. And so what we're going to do is kind of squish it, make sure so that it has the best contact, and probably put a few, and that didn't work, like go with me, a few clamps, like, let me go find some more of these lovely things, a few clothespins to hold it together so while it's gluing and setting up. Fortunately, I have a few within reach. But you can see that that has some dimension there now. Look in between the clothespins. Oh, my tails aren't getting stuck. Get in there, tail. Okay, so we're going to set him aside to dry while I wash my hands, and we will get back to that, make sure that it worked out fine after we do our paper clip. Okay, so get rid of this. We'll take our embossing powder and put it all back into the container. We'll move our butterflies out of the way. You can always save your embossing powder for the next time. And I just usually toss this sheet of paper because it never gets rid of all the embossing powder. I used to have one of those little anti-static things I got specifically for doing embossing. And of course, it was put away somewhere that I don't remember where I put it. So I don't have it anymore, and I do have to get rid of the stuff on the table. It will drive me bonkers. So I take a credit card and I just kind of scrape my table to get all the crumbs of embossing powder off of it. And no, I'm not scraping it onto the floor. I'm scraping it into my hand and then put it in the trash. Okay, I will be back in 1 moment or two. I had forgotten how messy that is. Now the next one isn't messy, it's just a little bit noisy. So, let's move that out of the way. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is to make the paper clip that we had on the inside there. And I showed you that a detail of that. So we have to have a metal block. We have to have a piece of wire. And we do have to have some specialty tools. And the specialty tools we need are some pliers and I should have gotten my flush cutter, but that's all right, I didn't. But we need the pliers. And the first thing I do is to take a piece of sandpaper, which I also happen to have, and I scrub the end of the wire in the sandpaper or on a emery board, either one, to make it smooth so that it won't hook on things like your clothes, where you do have this next to your clothes or something. So it won't scratch you. So that one's really smooth. So we're going to start with that. A little bit more, just a little bit more. Okay. Yep, that's good. They do have, I don't know what they call them, but they do have things that you can use for when you're doing jewelry, that you can twist it around the end of the wire and it will make that wire nice and rounded. Okay, so to make our paper clip, we're going to first make a little circle with our needle nose pliers. Our round nose pliers. See, those are rounded. Okay, so we made one full little circle, and then we're going to bend that and into a paper clip shape. And I'm using, I think it's 20 gauge wire, but you could use probably 18 gauge wire, 20 gauge wire, something like that. And it's easiest if you do the small circle that goes inside first. So I'm going to do the small circle that goes inside. And you just kind of bend it to where it's a pleasing bend. It doesn't have to be any specific dimensions. And if this is not in the same plane as your bend, then you can always use your flat nose pliers. See those? To adjust that. So I need to pull this around just a little bit so it's in the same plane with this. In other words, that it lays flat if you lay it on something flat. Okay, so the rest of the paper clip, we just take our round nose pliers again and curve that again so that it makes a nice pleasing curve. And you notice I'm not just bending it around there. And you can have it out far enough that that little circle doesn't touch, or you can have it touch. It doesn't matter. It's however you like it. So making a little fat paper clip. Little fat paper clips are cute. And just make that a pleasing curve. But the more that you bend your wire, the more you're doing what's called work hardening. And work hardening means that it'll make the wire harder as you've worked it. So the more you've bent it, the more harder. Wow, who taught me English? My I remember my high school English teacher, Miss Hawkins. She would have a fit if she heard me say that, and rightfully so. Anywho, we're going to bend that like that. Then we're going to make another pleasing bend down here for the rest of our paper clip. And then we're going to come up and make another little curve. Pleasing bend, I said. Okay, we're going to make a little curve to finish out our paper clip. And I don't want that bent there, I want that straight. So it sort of looks like a paper clip. Not maybe as good as the other one that we had. And nice pleasing curve, I said. Come on. You can do it. Okay, I'm going to have this one come up here because I like to have that. In case we put it at the top of our page, then we'll have our little circle that is off the edge of the page, and you can put some kind of cute little dangle on that will extend off the edge of the book. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and clip that so I can sand it. And whenever you're clipping it, you want to make sure you hold both wires so that it doesn't go flying. And that is a little bit sharp, so we will go ahead and use our stuff that I hate because it makes scratchy sounds, sort of like fingernails on a blackboard. but I do it anyway for art's sake. Yes. Okay, that's pretty good. So usually you want to start with the end of the wire to make this circle because it's easier that way to get it to go straight. And there we have it. It's not perfect. Doesn't look, and then I bent that side. And maybe I decided, instead of having it that fat a paper clip, maybe I want it skinnier. So what I need to do is to turn this little round thing we have here, I'm going to just turn it to be on the other side. So here we go. Just twist my wire right around in a circle. Now, I want to work harden this so that it won't be flippy flappy like it is now, because I can still bend it even with my fingers, and we don't want to be able to bend it with our fingers when it's a paper clip, because we want it to hold our papers if we have multiple papers there. And I have made my roundy stuff all ugly, so I'm going to adjust that just a little bit before I hammer it. And then I'm going to hammer it, so you need to get your earplugs because it's going to get rather noisy. Once I get it to a pleasing shape that I'm pleased with, which that is good enough, I'm going to lay it down on this little bench block, as it's called. Well, maybe it isn't, because I think that other thing's called a bench block. Anyway, it's a little piece of metal that you can get at most, what are those called? Anyway, you can get them at different stores and at jewelry places to make jewelry. And you just take a little hammer like this, and it doesn't have to be a little hammer, it could be a big hammer. And you just start tapping on it. And get that to be there. And keep your fingers out of the way. And the harder you tap, of course, the faster it goes. And once you flatten it, ouch! I hit my finger. But once you flattened it, then it won't be as bendable, quite as bendable as it was. And you will have an interesting little paper clip to use and put charms on. And if your hole doesn't go all the way closed there, then your charms might fall off that. But probably won't, because it'll probably hit close enough. And I did not get that very flat, so I'm going to get that a little bit more whack on that. And keep my fingers out of the way this time. And there's your paper clip. And it will hold papers and stick up the top so that you can put a little charm on there. Okay? If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. If you have any other things to say, leave those in the comments. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. If you didn't like it, well, if you have to give me a thumbs down, go ahead and do that too. Share and subscribe if you haven't. Thank you very much for watching. Bye now.